in physical therapy world, right? We're in an evolution, and we've come from, if you think back, like when I started in 1998, right? I had my practice through the 2000s until like 2010. So, during that time, heavily medical model, right?
Yep. Yep.
That has evolved, and we're now, we have the benefit, we have the opportunity of being in the medical world and the health and wellness world. And the clinics that I see that are thriving and growing and doing fantastic are the ones that are really bridging that gap where they are expanding into the health and wellness side. If we look at, they're I forgot what stats were coming out, but basically by 2030, right, in the next 5 years, the health and wellness economy is going to be $3 trillion that the public is spending towards it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how are we taking advantage of that as a profession? And if we continue to, stick within just purely the medical model, being under the thumb of insurance companies and all the headaches that come with that, and we see where that's going, there's not much of a bright future there, right?
Yeah.
But we can still be in that medical world, right? And the relationships with doctors and surgeons and all that is needed. But then how do we take that patient further in the health and wellness space so that they have a full, complete transition from, hey, they had a chronic problem, they got into this, they have, let's say, for example, arthritis, they needed a total knee replacement, they came to therapy afterwards for that. But they want to get back into becoming better, healthier, and feeling better, being able to be more active so they don't have those chronic problems anymore. Where are we taking them from there? And that's why we have a lot of opportunities within the clinic to add those extra services to increase that customer lifetime value. You need marketing in order to be able to do that, and internal processes. So it is a bit of a pivot point, a change where we are in the profession, but we have that opportunity, that benefit.
I wanted to ask a question about that, but I feel like I'll take us down a rabbit hole. Let me maybe kind of switch gears here a little bit. So somebody's listening to this somewhere in the US or watching this on YouTube or wherever they are right now, right? So they're let's say they're nodding, they're agreeing. They're like, all right, yeah, Neil, I got this. I got this. I know this is a more complicated question than we can possibly cover in a show, but just at a high level, what does marketing look like for a practice owner? So let's just use the example you just talked. You said you were talking to somebody today that has 2 practices up in the Northeast, and they're adding this wellness program. Let's assume they're doing no marketing right now.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is it a weekly newsletter? Is it a podcast? Is it text messages? What does it look like? How do you think about that?
Yeah. So, I broke this down, actually wrote a book on it, and we'll give an opportunity for our listeners at the end to be able to get that for free. But the key thing here is there's so many tactics that you can do when it comes to marketing that it can be very confusing. And that's where we get into trouble. We chase the shiny object. We think that this is going to be the solution to getting me all the new patients I could ever want. And that's never the case with marketing, right? Marketing, you first have to plan it out. You have to have a strategy, right? Like, what am I trying to accomplish here? And how does that fit in with my organization? And then what are the mechanisms or the vehicles that I can use or have help with to achieve those things? It's just like anything else, right? If you just go for it, you're going to fall on your face at some point. So First off, I would say you need to have a very strong online presence, right? That's how most people are finding services in today's world. So you need to maximize your online discoverability. And that comes from having a very good website. Like, your website is still a key part of how you are presented online. But then you need help with how you're leveraging that website. And then also things like your Google business profile, your different online profiles, like through Apple or Bing places, to help you rank better. And now we have more in this last year or two, which is how are we showing up in ChatGPT? How are we showing up in what's called answer engine optimization, which is that top AI part of Google? And those are actually pulling from how clinics are ranking very high in Google, right? And the content that they have within their website. So you need to be able to produce content that's relevant to your audience, that you can have in blogs and on different pages of your website. So first off is really just thinking about, okay, how can I be more discovered in my area, right? How can I be ranking better in Google? You might need to look at some things for that. Once you are better found in Google, like that's your first place to start, then you can look at, okay, I'm getting people to look at my Google profile, look at my reviews. What do my pictures look like? What do my videos look like of my clinic and my treatments? I want to present that up on my Google profiles. I want to have a lot of that within my website because people really connect with what they see as real. So you got to have great, pictures and videography within your clinic. And then as they're coming in and they're looking at all these different pieces of information, they're looking at the reviews, they look at how close are you, they're looking at what kind of insurance you are. They go to your website and start to really poke around and learn, like, what can you do for them? So do you have specific pages that are really talking to them about their knee problem or their back problem? And so I call this prospect to patient conversion, because what happens is you can get found quite a lot online, and you might get, say, 1,000 people coming to your website. Now, traditionally, what you find is about 2% of those people will actually make an appointment, which is a pretty tiny number. But if you can squeak that number up by an extra 2%, you've doubled your number of new patients coming from your website. So how your website is structured, how it speaks to people, right? The messaging, the way that it's laid out. Some things that we do actually is to use AI with our designers, and it actually mimics how people's eyes track within the website. So you can lay out buttons and colors, and it'll tell you how people are going to react to that. And the goal there is to get people to be sticky and stick within your website, digest your information, really get to know you. And that's when they're going to take, the action to make an appointment. So that's getting people to convert more on your website, and that can make a substantial increase in the amount of people coming into your clinic.
By the way, you got me thinking right away is when you started talking about percentages, because again, this is exactly how every other industry thinks. When you pick your favorite, and you know this already, but just for the audience's knowledge, pick your favorite e-commerce company, and they don't think in terms of sales per day. They're thinking in percentages. Okay, if I get this many eyeballs, I will get this many percent of them will convert to whatever. Even Amazon, there's this conversation with one of their designers about their product or whatever. And somebody said, somebody asked a snarky question of like, why do you guys focus so much on site speed? And this designer, this product owner or product manager at Amazon calmly responds right back in this public call and says, we know that for every 100 milliseconds slower the website is, we will lose 0.1% of the sales that are supposed to be coming from that page.
Yeah.
The point here fundamentally is you brought up this point of percentages. I think it's a really smart way to think about it. And it's correct. I mean, I think is also it's really about like what customers you kind of serve as well. Like I don't feel old. I'm 44, but the way I schedule an appointment now, whether it's for my kids' haircut or for my kids' barber, braces or whatever. Like if there's not an online scheduling, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. We want convenience, right? And that you gotta meet your customers where they're at, right?
That's the key right there. Yeah.
You gotta have the convenience for it. So, and I see it time and time again where practice owners, they fall in love with the look of their website. So they have this pretty website, but they have no idea how well it's working. Right.
If it doesn't convert. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're like, I don't have enough new patients.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. So you need things like, so one thing that we push really hard is data and clarity, right? So our mission is to provide marketing clarity, and that helps our team make better decisions and also helps practice owner make better decisions. And one of those things is like, how well are you tracking how patients come into your business, right? Most people just say, hey, at my front desk, ask them how they heard about us, and they note it down on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
That person may have seen an advertisement for you. They may have heard from their neighbor. They may have talked to their doctor. Their doctor gave them a list. They looked you up on Google, and now they're coming in and they're like, oh, well, my doctor said something about you, right? But that's not really how they got to you. A question, if you're still doing that, a good question is ask, how did you first hear about us? Because that will take the patient back to thinking of when they're, but ideally what you need to have call tracking software, right? You need to have form tracking software on your website. That's where the online forms and appointments were coming in, chatbots, all these kind of things. Like you can have a lot of data. Once you have the data of like how patients are actually coming in, then you can say, this channel's doing really well, or I'm getting a lot of people come in, but they're not necessarily coming in off of my website. Let me see where I can improve things. And then that's where you can make improvements in your marketing to get better results.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.